The man they fired became the name on the company's door. The rain hadn't stopped since morning. Malik stood outside the tall glass building, his shoes soaked, his shirt slightly faded, the same one he'd ironed over and over for months. He looked up at the golden logo that read, Silverline Technologies. Today was supposed to be his big day, his dream job interview. He took a deep breath and stepped inside. The marble floor reflected the expensive heels and suits of people rushing past him. Everyone looked so polished, so rich. He tried to blend in, but the receptionist's eyes had already scanned him from head to toe. "Delivery?" she asked flatly. Malik smiled nervously. No. I'm here for the software engineer interview." Her eyebrows lifted slightly. "Oh, right. Have a seat." She pressed a button on the phone, whispering something he couldn't hear. Minutes later, he was led into a large meeting room. The boss, Mr. Grant, mid-40s, sharp suit, Rolex flashing under the lights, didn't even stand to greet him. He simply looked up from Malik's resume, then down at his worn shoes. "So, Malik Johnson," Grant said with a half-smirk, "you've got experience, but not much style, huh?" A few HR assistants giggled quietly in the corner. Malik pretended not to notice. "I believe my work speaks louder than my clothes, sir." Grant leaned back. "Cute answer, but here at Silverline, presentation matters." He tossed the resume on the table. "We deal with million-dollar clients. You think they'll trust a guy who can't even afford a new shirt?" The words hit harder than he expected. Still, Malik stayed calm. "I'm not here to impress them with clothes, sir. I'm here to solve their problems." For a brief moment, silence filled the room. Then Grant laughed, loudly. "Solve their problems? You don't even look like you belong in this building." He stood up, signaling the end of the interview. "Maybe next time, come dressed for success." Malik rose slowly, holding back the storm in his chest. "Thank you for your time," he said quietly, and walked out. Outside, the rain poured harder. He sat on a bench near the bus stop, clutching his folder. The one that held the blueprints for his idea, a program that could detect company losses before they happen. Nobody in that room even let him explain it. That night, Malik opened his old laptop and stared at the code he'd been working on for months. He whispered to himself, "One day, they'll see." Weeks passed. No calls, no messages, just silence. Then, one morning, a news alert popped up on his phone. Silverline Technologies faces major data breach. Millions lost overnight. Malik blinked in disbelief. The exact issue his program could have prevented. Had they listened? He sat back, eyes cold but calm. The same boss who laughed at him was now plastered across the news. Desperate, panicking. And Malik? He just whispered, "Guess who'll need me now?" 2 weeks after the Silverline disaster, Malik was still spending his nights in his small rented room, working on his software. The world outside had moved on, but he hadn't. Each line of code felt like revenge written in silence. Then, one night, his phone buzzed. An unknown number. He hesitated and picked up. "Mr. Johnson?" That voice. He recognized it instantly. "Mr. Grant." Malik froze. "Yes?" Grant cleared his throat. "We, met a few weeks ago. I wanted to apologize if I was a little rude," Malik finished. "Unprofessional," Grant said quickly. "Listen, we're in a complicated situation. A cyber issue. Major clients are threatening to pull out. I remember you mentioned something about my loss detection software." Malik interrupted. Silence. Then Grant said, "Exactly. If you could, maybe come by tomorrow morning. We're willing to discuss compensation." Malik stared at the ceiling for a long time after the call. The same man who laughed at his clothes now needed him. Next morning, he walked back into Silverline. This time, he wasn't wearing his old shirt. He'd borrowed a clean blazer from his cousin. Still modest, but neat. As he entered, the same receptionist blinked in surprise. You again?" He smiled. Mr. Grant called me. Inside the conference room, Grant looked different. Tired, desperate, humbled. Mr. Johnson, he said, forcing a smile. Please, sit. Malik calmly opened his laptop. You said there's a data breach. Tell me everything. Grant explained. The system had been compromised, and client information was leaking. The entire company was days away from collapse. Malik listened, typing quickly, his eyes focused. After 20 minutes, he turned the screen toward them. This, he said, is a beta version of my program. It could have stopped this before it happened. Everyone leaned forward. Within minutes, Malik traced the source of the leak. An employee inside the company had sold data to a competitor. Grant's eyes widened. You found this that fast? Malik didn't answer. He just stared at him quietly, letting the silence speak. The HR manager whispered, We should hire him back immediately. Grant nodded. Yes, of course. Malik, we'd like to offer you a temporary contract. Malik closed his laptop. Temporary? He asked softly. When you laughed at me, was that temporary too? The room went dead silent. Grant's jaw tightened. We'll talk compensation later. Malik stood. No, I'll talk when you need me again. And trust me, you will. He walked out, leaving Grant staring, furious and humiliated. Outside, Malik smiled faintly. He had something they didn't. The code. And his dignity. 2 days later, chaos. Silverline made headlines again. Second breach hits company. Clients flee. Stock crashes. Inside the office, Mr. Grant was pacing, shouting orders. Get me Johnson. I don't care what it costs. The same receptionist who once mocked. Malik was now dialing his number with shaking hands. Malik was sitting in a small cafe when the call came. He let it ring twice before answering. Mr. Johnson, this is Silverline's HR. We urgently need your help. The board is ready to discuss full employment, plus equity. Malik leaned back, sipping his coffee. Now you're talking. When he arrived, everyone stood up. The same people who once snickered at his clothes now watched. Him like he was royalty. Grant forced a smile. Mr. Johnson, please sit. We're prepared to make things right. Malik looked around. You mean after calling me unfit, mocking me, and tossing me out like trash? No one spoke. He smiled slightly. All right, I'll fix your system, but my way. He spent hours rebuilding their network, locking every access point, rewriting firewalls. When he finally finished, he turned to Grant. The breach is over. But remember, respect is part of the payment. Grant nodded quickly. You have it, completely. Malik started to leave, but then paused at the door. Oh, and Mr. Grant? Grant looked up. Yes, Malik said calmly. You might want to check your system logs. You'll find something interesting. Grant frowned, typing rapidly on his computer. His face went pale. What is this? Malik smiled. The person who sold your company data was your own assistant. The entire room gasped. Grant turned toward his assistant, who was frozen in shock. Security! Grant yelled. As guards dragged the assistant out, Malik quietly picked up his bag. Grant turned to him, eyes wide. How did you know? Malik looked him dead in the eye. Because the poor man you laughed at was watching more closely than you ever did. And with that, he walked out. This time, not into the rain, but into sunlight. 3 months later, the once glittering Silverline Technologies was falling apart. Clients had withdrawn. Investors had fled. News headlines screamed, Silverline CEO under fire for corruption and data leaks. Mr. Grant sat in his massive office, now eerily quiet. Empty desks surrounded him. Most employees had quit. The company that once mocked Malik for looking poor was now begging to survive. He scrolled through old emails, desperate for a lifeline. Then his eyes stopped on one name, Malik Johnson. For a moment, pride held him back. But then he sighed, picked up the phone, and made the call. Malik was at his desk, coding with quiet focus. The city lights flickered outside his small window. His phone buzzed. He looked at the screen. Grant. He didn't answer immediately. He let it ring. Twice. 3 times. Finally, he picked up. Grant's voice was shaky. Malik, we need you. Malik didn't respond. Grant continued, We're shutting down in weeks. The board wants me out. I know I said terrible things, but you were right. We need you to fix this. One last time. Silence. Then Malik said, calm and clear, I'm not for hire anymore, Mr. Grant. Grant sounded desperate. I'll pay you double, triple, whatever you want. Malik leaned back in his chair. You don't have enough to afford what you lost. Grant's voice cracked. And what's that? Malik replied softly. Respect. Click. The call ended. 1 month later, a new sign gleamed in the city center. Bold, golden letters read, MJ Innovations. Inside, the atmosphere buzzed with energy. Young engineers, creative minds, and startup investors filling the hall. At the center of it all stood Malik, now in a sharp black suit, greeting guests with quiet pride. A reporter approached him. Mr. Johnson, your company's new cybersecurity software is being called the future of data protection. What inspired you to start all this? Malik smiled. A mistake someone once made. The reporter chuckled. And what happened to your old company, Silverline? Malik's eyes glimmered. They taught me something important. Sometimes you have to be thrown out of the wrong place to build the right one. Later that evening, as Malik was about to leave, a familiar face walked in, Mr. Grant. His once polished suit looked worn. His confidence was gone. Malik, he said softly, congratulations. You made it. Malik turned, calm and composed. What brings you here? Grant took a deep breath. I came to ask if you'd consider acquiring Silverline. Malik raised an eyebrow. You want me to buy your company? Grant nodded, eyes down. It's the only way to save our employees. They respect you now. They don't trust me anymore.